Happy Saturday, Connect family, and welcome to another episode of the Connect Network TV right here on the CW. I'm your host, Wendy Morales, with my gorgeous co-host, Sandy Glant. Stitches has a day off today. Sandy, how are you?
Amazing. How are you doing?
I can't complain. It's been a great week, great weekend, great month. I'm loving the weather.
Yes.
So, Sandy, speaking of a great month, October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and we're diving into a topic that's not just important, but it's urgent and affects women from all walks of life, including the famous and the successful.
That's right, Wendy. And domestic violence doesn't discriminate. We've seen powerful women like Rihanna, Pamela Anderson, Halle Berry, and several others have been really open about experiencing domestic violence in past relationships. It reminds us that anyone can be affected. So let's look at some of this data. Nearly 1 in 3 women will experience some form of domestic violence in their lifetime. And, between the three of us, if Stitches were here, that is 3 women with these stats that we're seeing, that 1 in 3 of us, that is a pretty staggering statistic. Think of your girlfriends. Think of, the women that you surround yourself with. Many of us remember the Rihanna and Chris Brown incident and the highly publicized assault in 2009. I know I remember that. Of course, we all know today she's a billionaire, but it's easy to forget the images and the Barbara Walters interview and all of the press that was around that at the time. Since then, has the conversation around domestic violence changed, or has it been amplified? And then there's the Johnny Depp versus Amber Heard defamation trial. This was very recent in 2022. The televised defamation trial between actors Johnny Depp and Amber Heard, involving multiple accusations of domestic abuse that captivated global audiences. People were just glued to their TVs. And I'm not sure if social media and the televised trial helps or hurts. What do you think, Wendy? Can social media platforms be used as a tool for empowerment and support for victims? How do you feel about this?
I really think it helps because, we're social media is life nowadays, and, everyone's on there. And for those that maybe don't want to come out and talk about it with someone, they can go to social media and, at least watch or engage in the pages of support systems, or, get support that way. So I really think that it helps.
Yeah. Well, speaking of social media, there's also Lauren Norris. If you're not familiar with her, she is a college lifestyle influencer at the University of Alabama with around 250,000 followers on social media. And she's used her platform to raise awareness about domestic violence, drawing from her own personal experiences. She grew up in a home where domestic violence was common and later found herself in an abusive relationship as a teenager. Later, she created the Radiant Collection, a merchandise line featuring words like radiant, worthy, and strong on clothing items to bring awareness. And it's really amazing because a portion of those profits are donated to a local organization that provides services to victims of domestic violence and sexual assault. So look, you're turning something negative into a positive situation to help others. And, I love this because what you see early on affects the future. And she's using this platform, she's using social media for the younger generation and to pass on a positive message rather than keeping that going. So what role do you believe younger influencers like Lauren Norris play in shaping the conversation around domestic violence and supporting survivors or kids of survivors? Because it can become generational.
The more we talk about domestic violence openly, Sandy, the more we can dismantle the stigma surrounding it. And we should really, truly encourage conversations in our schools, workplaces, and community. We really need to challenge those outdated notions like boys will be boys, or she was asking for it. Those phrases only perpetuate victim blaming. Instead, we should empower survivors by saying things like, we believe you, and you deserve much better.
Yeah, absolutely. And I want everyone to know that they are not alone and that there is help available. Reaching out is a sign of strength. Remember, everyone, let's keep this conversation going beyond today. Share your stories and support one another. And if you're going through something, always know that there's a place to turn and that you have friends and family in your corner.
Coming up next on the Connect Network, Strength, Courage, Survival. After the break, we're honored to welcome Suzanne Higdon, a remarkable woman who's turning her pain into power. Suzanne is bravely stepping into the spotlight to share her gripping story of surviving domestic violence.
Her journey from victim to victor will inspire, educate, and remind us all of the resilience of the human spirit. You won't want to miss this powerful testimony. Stay tuned. Susan Higdon's story of hope and healing is just moments away. We'll be right back.
I'm Jessica Cherry, founder of the award-winning blog Life of a Cherry Wife. If you're looking to follow for mom and lifestyle content, fashion, Latina life, and good vibes, this is the place for you. Head over to www.lifeofacherrywife.com for the latest in these areas. Follow me on social at Life of a Cherry Wife.
Hey, beautiful people, it's Major Mr. This is why I love you. And you are watching the Connect Network TV.
Welcome back to the Connect Network TV. Today, we have an incredibly brave and inspiring story to share. Our guest is a successful interior designer with a huge heart, beautiful home, and loving child. But behind closed doors, she was silently battling a harrowing reality.
For years, she endured domestic violence, keeping her pain hidden from friends and family, but not anymore. Today, she's here to share her journey from survival to empowerment.
We're so honored to have her here with us today. Let's dive into her powerful story. Welcome to the show, Suzanne.
Hi, thank you so much for having me today. It's an honor to be on the Connect today.
Suzanne, thank you for being here. And most importantly, thank you for being here sharing your story. We know that that can be very hard. So we can't tell you how honored we are to be here with you today and you sharing your experience and your story with us. So let's start by discussing the day that you decided no more. What do you think gave you the strength to finally call the police on your husband? Take us back to that day, which is now more than 2 years ago.
It was my daughter. It was most of to simply say, the physical violence had only been occurring, within the last 5 years of my marriage. But it would happen after my daughter would go to sleep. And that was the first night that she was entangled in it. Not necessarily, I can't say if she was in harm or not, but she was involved with the dynamics that night. And I knew I couldn't protect myself as it was, and I most certainly couldn't protect me and her. And so that was the straw, and I needed help.
And Suzanne, you managed to hide this from close friends and family for years. What motivated you to keep it a secret, and how did it affect your mental health?
Oh, well, it obviously takes a dramatic toll. And one of the things I've learned in these last 2 years, and especially even just in those 2 months after everything came to light, in going through classes at Safe Place of the Permian Basin, that's our family and domestic violence shelter and counseling resource here in town, learning that, we shelter we guard them, even though it sounds absurd. And until you're in the mix on it, it sounds completely unrealistic that you would want to. It's not that you wanted to stay in the dynamic, but even for myself, having employment and having friends, there's still something that they create that makes it scary to step out and to just know that you'll even be believed. But then most is the legal system. Of course, my immediate friends and family believed. They wouldn't have not believed. But that also isn't going to ensure your safety in this with getting a protective orders and so forth. It's not going to ensure that your child isn't going to be handed over to the abuser. So there's so many dynamics that go into it. So sometimes just keeping it calm or contained almost feels the safest. Sometimes there were times I felt like I was safer knowing where he was and what he was doing, even if it was in the same home, than having him on the outside.
So, Suzanne, I want to ask you, were there any signs that you saw that made you think, maybe this is a red flag? Okay, maybe I need to get out of this. Was there anything that kind of brought that up for you maybe earlier than that was able to show you those signs ahead of time?
To have seen the physical violence side, I can't say that there was. I mean, we had May, so my divorce was finalized in December. May would have been married 20 years, and then we were together 2 years before that. Looking back, though, in terms of signs of, and I hate to even use the word narcissism, but that's, I'll say clinically, what we're dealing with. It's not just a feeling about it. It's a kind of a behavioral technique that has been going on for years. And when you study and have enough therapy about it and learn that, they're going to find someone that they can drain. They don't want someone that doesn't have anything, whether it's, friends, social status, it can be money, it can be success, anything to elevate them. And then it becomes a feed. And then, and that's a slow feed. Some people it hits quicker. Mine, I look back and it was the alienation. Do you have to do that Bible study? Let us spend time together. You don't need to volunteer so much. It's taking from our time. And so before you realize it, 10 years have gone by and you've eliminated yourself. But it's a slow drift. To look back now, yes, I see signs and, oh, Lordy, but, it's things at the time you wouldn't say, well, I need to get out of this. Like, you won't let me go to junior league. That's not why you divorce.
Speaking of the signs, how long did it take? Was it a few years or was it early on when you started seeing the signs?
I would have to say it was early on. And even things at the time I thought, well, that just feels uncomfortable or not right. But I wasn't a young bride. I mean, I was 31 when we married, and I thought, well, this just must be how marriage is. I just didn't have a lot to base it off. And, you just look back and you're like, I didn't expect enough.
Many women feel trapped because a lot of them cannot afford legal help. So share with us how you navigated finding a lawyer and initiating the divorce process, because if I have this right, you also went to a women's shelter with your daughter for nearly a month to maintain your safety. You were really so strong to juggle it all. Like, share it. I want to hear, how did you do it?
The ironic thing at the time was at the architectural firm that I worked for, we were developing and designing the Safe Place, the Permian Basin shelter. So I was familiar with them, obviously, knew what they did, generally speaking. And there was one incident that I had experienced, and 2 weeks prior to the time he was actually arrested, that I contemplated. I was like, this seems like maybe a time I need to go, but I didn't know enough. I didn't know what they could offer me besides shelter. I didn't know that they could be an advocate and could help me with an exit plan and things that I should have been better prepared with. So it wasn't until 2 weeks later when he was arrested, and my daughter and I had received emergency protective orders at that time from the police and from the county. And that bought enough time to get the home safe, change the locks, get security system, change the garage door code, install a security system. And so until that was secure, we stayed at the shelter. The legal strategy is overwhelming. I was fortunate that a girlfriend that I had met through my daughter's ballet class, I knew she was a paralegal for a really great woman attorney here in town, and they had just started their own firm, her and another partner. And so that was the first person. That was the only one I knew. And I just reached out to them, and they got me in immediately that afternoon after the arrest. And we just started, and we did not know what we were getting into. Over the course of the next 18 months, what we learned about my own life through what we uncovered, it was a lot of kind of investigating, forensic auditing. I kind of became a sub-expert in a lot of different ways, because there's just so much to unravel. And yes, the expense of it was overwhelming. And I was blessed with these two women attorneys that gave me a lot of grace, and we got through the case knowing that we would get it handled. They would get their compensation. So through all of this, though, my attorney and I have the heart to set up an endowment through Safe Place, and we're working on strategies with some nonprofits here in town and foundations of how to fund that and maintain that, because not having legal representation is costing women, it's costing children, and there are lives that are just not able to be impacted because they simply cannot afford it.
Wow.
You discovered the importance of having an amicus in child custody cases. Can we discuss that, what that is, and why it's so crucial for women with children?
Well, one of the things that I came to learn pretty quick in the court system, and it's not just Texas. I mean, now I follow several groups on Instagram that are court advocates and court watchers, and just working through a lot of the laws that are being put into place in different states to educate judges, because right now we can't even get to the law changing aspect of how children are handled in court with domestic violence cases or any kind of abuse. If they did not have hands laid on them, they're safe in the court system. They don't need a protective order. Here, I'm on my second protective order since his arrest. I mean, besides the emergency one. And my daughter is under full Texas visitation now. I did get sole custody. The judge did allow me that. But to circle back to the amicus, in our first several hearings regarding her visitation at the time, she was 4 at the time when this all started, and it was supposed to be supervised. The system out here has been so backlogged of supervised visits under the one organization who does it. We had a 6-month wait list. So then the judge grows discouraged, and he's frustrated that, we're just sitting around and waiting, and that the father is not getting his rights to see his child. So he forgoes the supervised visit and immediately begins non-overnight stays like every other weekend. So it's just, I was like, okay, we're not going to make progress here. What I'm saying in the court is barely being heard to represent me, even though we had a slew of information and evidence. So I just, pleaded with my attorney, Beth. I was like, what can we do at this juncture? And so we asked for the judge to appoint an amicus, and that wasn't even simple, because he was like, well, do you not feel like you're being heard? And I was like, not really, And so that is at that point, he did appoint it. I had to agree to pay for it. So that added to some of the legal fees in this. And again, another stumbling block for a lot of children to not be represented in court, because it's another lawyer being involved. But ultimately, she had the opportunity to, visit me in my home with Taylor, visit her in her father's home, and interview both of us and get to create an idea of what would be best for her. And also was privy to all of she was in court the whole time when our case did go to trial. We were able to get to an agreement on property and so forth. But we did leave my child's fate of custody to the judge, because at that point, I was not going to relinquish anything on my own.
Wow. And I just wanted to point out, an amicus is an attorney for the child.
Yes.
So that's what we're discussing. So looking back, has this experience transformed you, and how has it transformed you? And what message do you hope to send to other women?
Well, without a doubt. It's the most transformational thing I think that could happen to me. For years, all I ever wanted to do was design as a child and as an adult. And that's what I've known and done. For the first time in my life, I have, a desire and a passion for advocating for women. I look forward to, in the next few years, getting more involved at the state level and being a part of policy changing. And if nothing else, like right now, even just in our grassroots of Midland, the women that have been connected to me that are going through similar and horrible situations, and just to be able to counsel with them, advise. If nothing else, these last 2 years and the amount of legal fees, let it be to someone else's benefit, if it possibly can.
Thank you for such a powerful message. And, healing may be a continual process, but it will come. And Suzanne, again, thank you so much for joining us today. It's truly inspiring and absolutely important to know these things nowadays, and that they're happening all the time. Please share with us where people can find you and keep up with you, or reach out to you in support if they may need support or encouragement.
Yes. So my Instagram, which I think y'all probably know it better than I do right now. I think it's Suzanne _Hutchinson _Hechton, HUTCHINSON, and then _Hechton, HAECHTEN on Instagram. And then I can provide y'all to a bunch of the links that are to these network of amazing women throughout the country that are just building momentum. And it's encouraging. It's discouraging. We see the numbers when you say the 1 in 3, but people are taking their power back.
Well, Suzanne, we so appreciate you being here, being bold and courageous and sharing your story, because you are helping others and inspiring others. So we're all so grateful for you being here and sharing that with us. And to our viewers, if you or someone you know is experiencing domestic violence, please know that help is available. You can call the National Domestic Violence Hotline at 1-800-799-SAFE, which is 1-800-799-7233 for support and resources. Don't go anywhere, Connect Fam. We'll be back right after the commercial break.
ready to bring your brand to television? Listen, it is possible, and it's possible without pitching to all of the different networks across the country, across the world, and begging for a seat at their table. Listen, come check us out on The Connect Show. We broadcast on the CW network every single week, reaching more than 2 million households. And what we do is help you build and promote and market your brand in front of an audience that actually has a pocketbook. They actually want to spend money and better themselves, better their strategies, their systems. We focus on women in business and female entrepreneurs. So if you are building a brand that you know has the potential to be so much bigger, or if you're prepared and ready to scale, join us today. You can register to be a guest at theconnectonline.com.
Welcome back, Connect family. Wow. What an inspiring discussion today. And a huge thank you to Suzanne for sharing her incredible journey and insights with us. That is all we have for now, Connect fam. And don't forget to follow Suzanne on Instagram at Suzanne_Hutchinson_Hecton to stay updated on her incredible work and initiatives. She will definitely be changing lives. We are so grateful that she was here with us today.
That's right, Sandy. And to our Connect family, tap into our IG and connect with us to share more at the Connect Network TV. And remember, you can catch all our past episodes by binge watching them Netflix style on our website at theconnectonline.com. In the meantime, please keep up with me on IG at Gone with the Wendy. And Sandy, where can they find you?
Yes, at Sandy Gland. That's Sandy with an I, SANDI, or at Slay Your Day Official on IG. Until next time, stay empowered and keep reaching out for the help that you deserve. Be safe and make sure you tell somebody you love them.
You're watching the Connect Network TV on the CW.